So let's talk about a situation recently which started a firestorm over on Twitter. So I'm pretty sure people have already seen what happened at TwitchCon with, the creep that went up to Emiru and like grabbed her and tried to go in for a kiss. And then there was after that, after she got back from TwitchCon, she exposed Miskf for all of the verbal abuse, mental abuse, actually even physical stuff too, where she was assaulted by him sexually, as well as getting a black eye from him throwing a phone that hit her in the eye and things like that. A bunch of horrible stuff. But that led to a situation with VTubers somehow. I know it's been a really great year for the VTuber space. Massive dramas just all up and down 2025. And this is the latest one. So the VTuber Bao said something that made a lot of people upset, and it basically stems from this tweet talking about the Miskf and Emiru situation. The tweet says this: if you're an up-and-coming female content creator with a small but growing audience and a much larger and successful male content creator approaches you out of nowhere and showers you with attention on stream, in DMs, etc., don't walk, run. So this was obviously a tweet that was prompted by the situation between Miskf and Emiru, because the gist of it is that Emiru used to live on her own and she ended up moving in with Miskf to, I guess, escape some stalkers that she had back at home. But they started living together, right? Miskf contacted Emiru and they started living together, and then sometime after that they started dating, and that's when the whole saga started. And then Bao made this tweet saying, hey, if you're some female creator and a male creator who's way bigger than you tries to love bomb you, then you should be very suspicious of that, and you should probably run away from that situation, because likelihood there's going to be some ulterior motive by that bigger creator. And honestly, I think that this message was pretty innocuous. I mean, this initial message seemed like something that's just correct, and I agreed with that. A lot of people cannot be trusted in the content creation space, and they are clout demons, and they're going to do whatever they can to get ahead, to get a few more viewers. They'll use people just for content. They'll pretend to be friends with them, but they're not actually your friends, and things like that. And there's probably some male streamers that are just looking for somebody for girl content. There's a lot of stuff like that. Now, where this went wrong is that a lot of people felt like this was unjustly specifying male content creators preying on female content creators, which I get that as well. I mean, from the wording, obviously it doesn't look very great, because there's a lot of instances of female content creators being predatory and abusive of male content creators, or just content creators in general, male or female. I mean, there was the entire situation that Bao was involved with Cinder, and a lot of people were pointing out the two streamers that recently got banned for sexually assaulting one of the Faye's assistants, Saeed, the female streamers Nina Lynn and Zoe Spencer, who I swear is an industry plant. They both got banned for 1 day for a sexual assault, where they were just grabbing him, trying to hold him down and hold him in place and then twerk on him. And that whole situation was pretty crazy. The fact that they did that and they got a 1-day ban for it, and everybody was rightfully pointing out that if a dude or two dudes did that, any kind of thing like that to a girl, that they would have been perma-banned off of the platform Twitch. But this is just to say that a lot of people felt like it was unfair to specify men being the ones that, are love bombing these smaller female content creators and trying to use them, rather than just making the statement that if a larger content creator starts hitting you up, showering you with praise and telling you how they're going to help you out with growth and everything like that, then you should be suspicious of it. This could apply to males or females. Now, obviously, while I still think the original tweet was pretty innocuous in that it was correct, and a lot of people did agree with it, you can see here this response by Mujin: bro, this literally could not be more true, LMAO, especially if they offer to help you grow if you move in with them. And that's exactly what happened with Emiru and Miskf. But obviously, some people were not going to see it in that way, especially people who were affected by maybe being used and abused by a female content creator, and they saw it as a misandrist attack on men. So then this tweet was made quoting Bao's tweet shortly after, saying, hot take, men are not inherently evil and thinking so is sexist. Also adding, yes, you are all wrong, it's inherently sexist to agree with that statement as is. I agree in the statement regarding the topic, but you are all ignoring that women can have ulterior motives too. And with that ignorance, it makes you sexist. Bao would respond to this tweet saying, creating the worst possible interpretation of what I said, then being mad at it is definitely a choice. And OP responded with, well, you made a very broad statement about men, generalizing were your words, not mine. So what I think about the situation up to this point is that it just seemed like it was getting overblown. Bao made a comment and she specified men. I guess the context of her specifying men was specifically talking about Miskf and Emiru without mentioning their names, because obviously Miskf, contacted Emiru up-and-coming content creator, said that they should live together, and then she moved in with them, so like it makes sense referencing that particular situation. But then after people started getting mad at that tweet with their responses saying, why did you single out men here? That seems kind of sexist. It seems like you have a bias. And Bao making this response saying, just because I didn't include every single nuanced exception, it doesn't mean we're still not having the same conversation. There would be more criticisms from people who thought that this was a sweeping generalization of men, which, to be honest, if you've been on the internet in the past like 5 to 10 years, you've probably seen a lot of widespread man hate, especially on places like Twitter and TikTok, where it's just perfectly accepted to say crazy things about men, even just kill them. I'm sure a lot of people remember the whole kill all men thing, and then there was the let's choose the bear over a man, you know, because apparently you'd be safer around a grizzly bear than any random man who would do bad things to you. All of that stuff. Men are used to seeing that type of stuff all the time on the internet, and then Bao makes this statement, and for a lot of people it just got to a point where like they don't want to hear anything that specifies men as just being bad guys by default. Even if the intention is more innocuous, people don't like the wording because it points to that kind of ideology of men are bad by default. And this whole thing, I think, really started to escalate after Bao went on stream and decided to just crash out over the situation, mad that people were criticizing her for what she said, rather than saying, I understand their point of view as well, or maybe apologizing for the generalization or anything like that, or just like not talking about it anymore. She decided to hop on her next stream saying this.
I had a lot of strong feelings about this, and to the people that are trying to dilute what I'm saying to fit their own like stupid ass anti-woman, I fucking hate you're misandrous, I don't care, bro. I don't care, bro. Go fix your receding hairline. You ever heard of minoxidil? Yeah, try that. All right, don't care. Wrap it up. Okay. Hey man, you're outing yourself. Okay. I didn't say anything. You did it yourself.
So yeah, she ironically says that the criticisms directed at her are anti-woman, when the criticisms are basically, hey, you're generalizing men here, saying that men are abusing their power in the space to go prey on smaller female content creators and convince them to like live with them and things like that. And the criticism towards her was, hey, this is something that male and female content creators do, and a lot of content creators are clout demons, and you should be suspicious of their advances. But she specified men, and that rubbed people the wrong way. She's calling those criticisms that were made against her anti-woman, and apparently saying in her Discord that it's coming from pyro pups and grifters, and also deciding to go make an insult towards men, I guess calling them balding and saying they should use some kind of medicine to get their hairline back in order, you know, because that's very mature and it contributes to the conversation, and it's definitely going to prove your point against people who are saying that you hate men. So pretty much up until this point, I was thinking, well, I don't really see too much what's wrong with the Bao tweet. I mean, yeah, it specifies men in this case, but the only reason why it does that is because it's talking about Miskf and Emiru, so I get it. And then she came out with that stream where she just wanted to be bitter and crash out over the criticisms being levied against her, said all of this stuff, and now I'm like, well, I understand why she's getting the hate. And people in the comments were pointing out situations like Nina Lin, who sexually harassed Disguised Toast on top of sexually harassing Saeed, which she caught a 1-day ban on Twitch for. There was also this now deleted tweet by Yuka VT that people are posting around, which says, I'm gonna throw up, my Oshi has perceived me. And it shows that Bao liked a post that said, men that are crying about this are the same men that cry about us saying we choose the bear. So now this is just like full blown like, yeah, I actually do hate men and I would choose the bear over a man. Which, I mean, you know, that whole conversation, we're losing brain cells here. You are actually missing a few chromosomes if you think that a grizzly bear would be friendlier to you than a human man, or that it would be safer to be around one. I just think that it's very ironic though that Bao would like a stupid post like that, when obviously if you're going to cry about people misinterpreting what you said in your original post, then why would you agree with something that generalizes all men as being terrible and saying that bears are safer for women than men? In this post, you don't care about the generalization, you're just liking it because it insults men. And what's the point of it too? Obviously you would get mauled by a bear, or do you actually actually think that you would survive longer with one. She goes from saying people are misinterpreting what I said in the original tweet to let me just like some full-blown misandry. I agree with this post because it's speaking negatively about men. So after seeing this post by YukaVT, which was a pretty bad post because obviously it exposed that Bao liked that tweet, and it was bad because YukaVT started getting a bunch of hate herself, a bunch of people really started ramping up the hate towards Bao after seeing that. So then we have where Shondo enters the situation. It started with a tweet by FlokiVT, which was a response to the original tweet by Bao. And it says, this applies to any gender small approached by any gender large. It also could mean the exact opposite, but misandrous be misandering. Crazy to think there could be helpful comments like this without being a sexist POS. And all of Shondo's tweets in the situation are basically deleted, so work with me here, but I believe this was the tweet that she responded to with groomer outed alert. So then everybody turned their attention to Shondo, including Shondo's own fan base, in pointing out that she had been the victim of people all over the internet calling her PDF bait, a lolly bait character that's trying to appeal to creepy old dudes that like small children, and making all of these baseless accusations, hating on her constantly because of clips that would go viral of her, like the clip that she was like shouting cunny, that clip, and others of Shondo. People were hating on her, especially on places like TikTok, but also a lot on Twitter and other places on the internet. Her fans, as well as people just in the sphere of VTubing and everything, they were defending her constantly from all of these baseless accusations against her, only for her to now call some guy a groomer because he is going out and saying, hey, you're specifying that men are bad instead of saying that, in general, a bigger content creator showering you with a bunch of attention and saying, hey, move in with me, or I can help you grow and all sorts of stuff like that, is something you should be suspicious of. I mean, really, the original tweet did specify men and it didn't have to. FlokiVT was just pointing that out, only to be called a groomer by Shondo, probably the last person that should be hawking baseless accusations at somebody. So Shondo started receiving a lot of backlash over this, and then she finally came out with an apology, non-apology over the situation on the 30th, and that says this: I recently said something pretty mean on impulse that's being pretty roughly misinterpreted. It's British humor to throw words around, and I personally have seen so much hate on the internet now, especially directed towards myself, that I've become completely and utterly numb to it. It seems that I might have forgotten many people haven't really reached that point yet. I'm always trying to be a better, stronger, and kinder person, and it was wrong to thoughtlessly say something cruel. That said, if there are robberies in your area, it's not a bad idea to lock your door. If someone starts yelling about how you're oppressing them by telling people to do that, they might have a reason to feel so personally slighted. I think as men and women in the modern era, there's an incredible amount of strain between us, and I have always been an advocate for breaking that wall down. The strife and conflict is pointless and does nothing but perpetrate this stupid cycle of hate. Shondo Frenix, no, I am literally the opposite of a misandrous, and I don't take kindly at all to my thoughts being interpreted that way. TLDR, sorry for drama whoring, I stream a lot, very tired, said the quiet part out loud. I can't tell you to be nice and also be mean myself. And then a subtweet, which is also now deleted, which says, being kind to the people who do not deserve it is the strongest and most badass thing you can do actually, and it usually frustrates them and makes them rethink their behavior a lot more effectively than being cruel would. And she was responding to a post where somebody said, you did nothing wrong, basically. And you can see the notes on the side. The first section, I was just being edgy because people are mean to me. The second paragraph, I was wrong, but the third paragraph, but I was probably right. It's also a misinterpretation to say if someone starts yelling about how you're oppressing them by telling people to lock their doors if there's robberies, because people aren't mad at the message itself of be careful of love bombing or sudden interest by some bigger content creator. People were upset about the fact that it specified men when women do the exact same things. And obviously in recent years on the internet, there's been a lot of male-targeted hate. And then the final paragraph subcaptioned, he deserved it though. If she's saying being kind to people who not deserve it in this like non-apology towards the guy that she called a groomer, then that would also generally mean that she doesn't mean the apology, but she's just going to say this whole thing to try to be nice and be the bigger person. And I don't know what's so hard to understand about this. Like, don't generalize the entire group of men and then say, oh, but like I wasn't talking about about men in general. But if the shoe fits, I mean, if you feel targeted, then I guess I was talking about you. Because you know that they would be molding if some generalizing statement was made by a guy about women, and then they said, oh, but I wasn't talking about all women though, only the ones that do this stuff. And people were calling out how after days, Shondo literally did not apologize at all to the person in question, Floki VT, who she called a groomer baselessly. And he confirmed that Shondo never reached out to him, never apologized in the DMs or anything, never apologized publicly, obviously. She only made this post, which is now deleted because it wasn't well received at all. And it was basically sorry you guys got offended, I was being edgy and I didn't know that people would interpret it the wrong way. Matter of fact, there was only one reference to the word sorry in that whole post, and it was TLDR, sorry for drama whoring. And basically at this point I'm just thinking, why couldn't they either stop talking about the situation or issue a proper clarification / apology both on the side of Bao and Shondo about this entire thing? Instead, they decided to double, triple, and quadruple down and then end up getting a bunch of hate over something that supposedly wasn't supposed to be any kind of message of misandry, but instead of actually saying, sorry, this isn't what I meant, they decided to get offended at being accused of that, and then hilariously Bao liking that one tweet that was like, oh yeah, well, this is why we would choose the bear. It's just really like, it's such a head scratcher. Like, if you're going to say something so stupid, why not just not say anything at all? It's not even as if Bao or Shondo had to make any comments on the situation, had to say anything about Emiru versus Miskf, but they did. They did in this way, and then they received a bunch of hate from their own fan bases. You have a lot of these indie VTubers who have their thrones and, you know, Amazon wish lists, and they have their massive glistening titties out, and they're farming parasocials. Lonely guys who are going to jork their penis to them and subscribe to their fansly and all this stuff going on. I mean, Bao in particular literally has a fansly, and Shondo is liked for being more edgy and stuff like that. And you really, like, it's a different type of audience for Shondo and Bao than the types of people that watch Hololive members. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. So the fact that these people who have like a 99.9 male audience, I don't know who they think is watching them. Like, you can just check your YouTube analytics or something. They know, they should know who's watching them, and they're going to be the ones who are so offended that people are not jiving with the male generalization. Like, yeah, if you go out and you generalize people like that and you kind of like attack them inadvertently and then say, why are you being offended? Are you somebody who is part of the problem here? Does this apply to you, this thing that I said? They thought that they were cooking with that, but the only thing that they ended up doing is drawing hate onto themselves from their own communities even. Makes me think, wow, what if they were just like in an agency that would have told them to shut up and not comment on these types of situations? None of this would have ever happened. So then what happened after this is apparently Shondo had somewhat of like a mental breakdown on a stream. There was some 4chan post, and I'll throw it on the screen, that was, I guess, documenting how she was tweaking out on stream and posting on an alt. And I think many people who follow her know that she is pretty mentally ill. So what came after that was this tweet, which now has over 1 million views and went up on the 31st of October, which says, I'm having an episode and I'm at the hospital. I'm okay, but I'm not doing well. I asked for my phone to tell you I have to stop the subathon. I'm really sorry, I will get better. I don't really know what happened. They said I'm having a catapnic episode again. I'm sorry, I haven't had one of these in a long time, so I thought they stopped. They put me on the good stuff though, so I'm okay, even though I am hurt, I'm really tired, and they won't let me keep my phone, so I have to go now. And I do hope that she gets better. I don't know exactly what her situation is, and I don't really watch her or Bao. I'm a Hololive guy myself, again. But I did notice that it seems like the types of people that watch her were still crapping on her in the comments. This response says, yeah, an episode of half of my fanbase's pissed at me syndrome. This one says, accused her random of being a groomer, backfires, doubled down by posting a photo of her character as an FBI agent, deletes it. I'm having an episode, oh my sides. This one, I got backlash for doing something shitty and now I'm having another schizo melty, so you have to be nice. Good luck and sorry you feel shitty. Apologizing to those who don't deserve it is a virtue after all, right? Why'd you delete your CEO of grooming art? Was it in a joke? And more posts like this. So this whole situation is an example of what happens when people put their foot in their mouth and then they don't know how to navigate from there. They don't know how to apologize properly. They want to double down, triple down on whatever they are feeling, whatever their feelings tell them they should say instead of what they should actually say. You have an audience that's like 99.9, maybe another 9 in there, percent males, and you say some stuff that amounts to a sweeping generalization of males, and they get mad about it, and then you get mad that they're getting mad about it. That's what Bao and Shondo did, and it's not really great, and it could have been avoided by just simply saying, I misspoke, joke, I'm sorry. Shondo for calling the guy a groomer, and Bao for generalizing men, I guess. It's crazy how doing simple stuff like that is too hard for people. They'd rather double down, triple down, etc., and then receive all this hate for it, instead of making the apology or clarification that should have been made in the beginning. And maybe that is why Hololive clears, because they vet people properly, and the people that are in the agency aren't just free to say whatever crazy stuff or comment on any kind of situation, something political, some kind of drama, and that keeps them focused on providing good content that actually makes people happy to all of their fans that love seeing them, instead of posting something that's just going to like make their audience upset. But you know, these are your indie VTubers, sir. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say on the situation. If you thought this video was useful, then be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more uploads. To anybody who made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.